Hey, everybody, it's Scott Wallin with Dairy Management Incorporated. And I'm so excited to bring you a discussion this morning with one of our DMI experts, Don Schindler. He's a senior vice president, and he works very much in the digital and social media space for the Dairy Checkoff. Don, how you doing today?
I'm great, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to catch up with you today. You've been working in social media and digital communications for the Checkoff for a lot of years, and you engage with a lot of farmers. What's the one thing that you want dairy farmers to most know about social media engagement? And can you also share a little bit about how the Dairy Checkoff helps farmers?
Sure. So I think that what farmers really need to know about social media is that it's not going away, and it really is the number one way to reach our audiences. The Gen Z gets 50% of its news strictly from social media, and they're not as trusting as past generations. So, like when they see news out there, right, that they've seen on social media, the breaking news and all that, they're going to go verify it someplace. But if you're not there, right, there's just another side talking about what we're doing. So the biggest thing is really that this is where Gen Z lives. They live inside of social, and that's where they get their news. That's where they connect with their friends, and they're on it all the time. A lot of farmers don't know this, but Gen Z spends about 17 hours in front of screens, and that may seem like a lot especially to a farmer, but this is their world. This is where they are interacting with others and talking, and you just can't ignore the fact that they're out there.
Such a different way that these kids are growing up today than you and I did. What is the one piece of advice that you do give farmers when you do work with them?
Yeah, I think the toughest thing is don't look at social media as a job, right? This is a place to connect with others, to have fun. The Gen Z and millennials go there to this is their entertainment, right? Much like they'd be flipping on a TV like we did back in the day. This is their way of entertaining themselves. So if you're not looking at social media as something that is entertaining and fun to do, and ways to connect back and forth, you're really going to have a hard time using it, right? You're going to look at it as a job, yet another chore, something else that someone else is pressing upon you. But it's not that, right? It's something that you're just kind of sharing what's going on with your life. And the majority of Gen Z and millennials actually live in cities, right? They're not in the country, and so all of your farm life, everything going on around you, especially the animals and the machinery, they're wanting to see that. They're wanting to see this kind of lifestyle that is very different than theirs. And if you enjoy it and you are taking people around like it's a constant farm tour, right? You're just kind of packing them along for the ride and explaining to them all the things that you're doing and how it benefits them. They're really going to enjoy that, especially if you're having fun. If you're not having fun, it's not going to go well.
That's such great advice. Got to enjoy what you're doing, right? We know, though, farmers, there's never enough time in the day for a dairy farmer. They're so busy. It's a 24/7, 365 commitment that they make. You hear from farmers all the time who say, I don't have time for social media. What do you say to that farmer who tells you that?
Yeah, the time constraint is pretty tough, right? But there's a couple of different reasons I say it's very important that you connect there. And the first one, of course, is that Gen Z's there. That's our future consumer, and they're on this platform all the time. The second thing is that there's not as many dairy farmers anymore, right? Like the farming and agriculture in general has consolidated quite a bit, especially when it comes to dairy farming. And there's not a lot of other dairy farmers out there being able to spread the message. So unlike our grandfathers and our fathers who could go to church and see a lot of people and people knew, or just the fact that the generations used to come back to the farm, right? When it was only one or two generations removed, they would come from the cities and come back to the farm and maybe spend a summer or something like that. You had those connections there. Now we don't have that, right? There's just so many people in the nation now, comparably. So really the only way to reach these people is to go out and be where they are, which is in social media and sharing that. And you can reach a lot of people. And I think the other thing that a lot of farmers don't understand is that if you do get popular enough, if you do concentrate on it and work it, you can make money off it. And I know a lot of farmers that actually do make a pretty good side hustle just with social media. And they can, the Facebooks, the Instagram, stuff like that, they'll put advertising within your stuff and then benefit you. to reach these consumers, right? They know that you have the content, you have the stuff that people want to see and connect with.
You know, we're obviously at the start of June, always a big time for our industry with National Dairy Month. Can you talk a little bit about what checkoff teams nationally and locally are doing during National Dairy Month?
Yeah, so with National Dairy Month, the big focus is the farmer, right? Is getting farmer stories out there in front of the public. So we have a big push with that, right? So we're going to be talking a lot about sustainability and what farmers are doing. The U.S. Dairy Sustainability Awards were just announced, so that's going to be a big push too. And then you also have just in general the enjoyment that comes along with June, right? You have the ice creams, and cheese, and milk, and everything. So it's really a big focus on the farmer, right, and getting their stories out. And then if you want to be able to see those stories, I suggest going out and checking out Undeniably Dairy's channels, right? They're all out there in Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and you'll be able to see the content that Checkoff is producing. And then all of your local checkoffs are also pushing content as well, and they all have their own individual regional spins on these same kind of messages. So I suggest checking out their channels as well, and then sharing those stories.
Don't forget the recipes. We know how much our consumers love these dairy-centric recipes, and there's an awful lot of stuff that's being moved out as well through our channels for people who want to get in the kitchen, get busy with some good dairy. You've also, one of the things you're very busy with is the Your Dairy Checkoff podcast. This is an effort that we're doing with our state and regional teams. You've been at it, I think, for almost a year or so. Can you talk a little bit about that podcast, how it got started and who all gets involved with it?
Yeah, the podcast has been very successful, and we're really happy with it. And I think the biggest part of the success is that it's farmer-led, right? That we don't use any professional hosts like professional interviewees. We use farmers, right? They're the ones leading the conversation, and so we pick a topic every month. Like could be on school milk, could be on our advertising. It could be on how the checkoff works over in general, right? These are the kind of things that the farmers then interview these subject matter experts that we bring in, and they talk back and forth and have about a half an hour conversation with these people. And they're asking the hard questions that farmers want to know, right? We don't hold anything back. And we just allow the farmers to talk back and forth and have this great conversation. But it's one of those really interesting. I don't think you'll find any other kind of podcast out there like it, right? Almost every other podcast out there is that interview led with, they might interview, but it's all professional, right? They're all very, very good. These are like real hard conversations that farmers are having with these subject matter experts. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of the success.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, the fact that they're farmer-led, those conversations are so true and raw, and you just see how talented those farmers really are. I know sometimes you said they might not be as comfortable at the get-go, but man, once they get rolling and have that conversation, it's just so smooth and it's really good stuff. So congratulations to you and the state and regional folks who are making that thing happen. Before I let you go, we always like to leave resource information for our dairy farmers who might want to get involved with social media. Where can farmers go if they want some assistance in getting started?
Yeah, the first place I would go is go to your local checkoff, right? Almost every local checkoff out there has a program designed around helping farmers get in social media. So right there, that's the first thing I would do. Just reach out to your local checkoff, say, hey, I'm interested in getting involved in social media. I'd like some help setting up maybe a Facebook page or Instagram profile or YouTube or TikTok or whatever you really want to dive into, and that local checkoff will help you get started. And of course, then once you get started and everything, if you ever need help online, you can always reach out to me, the National Checkoff. We're there, especially if you get into more difficult conversations with consumers. It does take some practice, and we have lots and lots of ways to help you practice before you get involved in those kind of conversations. So I would always start with the local checkoff, though. They're your best resource.
And of course, all that information can be found at usdairy.com. Plus, all that content that Don talked about earlier is on that website as well. So be sure to check that out. Lots there for dairy farmers and consumers. Don, thank you so much for your time today, and have a great National Dairy Month.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Thank you, farmers.